I must admit that I thought of this topic about 15 minutes ago.
All right.
But it's okay. ChatGPT gave me I told it what to do and it gave me a format. So, there we are.
Let's see.
I think we've done it.
I just have to. It says it's private. Let me try again. Okay. There we go. Now we're live. Now I just need to wait for the chat to load up. But hello, everybody. Coming at
Hello.
you from Pahrump, Nevada and Aberdeen, Scotland.
Scotland.
That's where I am.
Yes, the home of one of my favorite actors who's no longer with us. Bond. James Bond. And a little known movie called Zardoz. Sean Connery is, anyone who watches that movie will just be shocked that Sean Connery did it. But it's a little low budget science fiction film.
So we've got our first chatters. We've got Calvin Thurston and Nisa Banerjee. So hello to both of you.
Hello. KK says he's hammering hello to you guys. It's his own little language. It's similar continuous wave, what amateur radio call us, but I had someone being a little obstinate. He wanted to come to sit right across from us this morning, and KK wasn't having anything of it. I had to bring Cecil over to calm him down. Now he's hammering. And Cecil is unraveling one of these sticks.
And we have Barzia Colgrove who joined us. So hello, Barzia.
Hello. Try not to poke me in the eye, okay? Try. I mean, I know it's difficult for you, but Cecil. Cecil bird.
So Calvin and Barzia have both seen Zardoz.
Oh my word. I've actually never met anyone who's seen it or talked to anybody who's seen the movie.
Oh, well, there you go.
Wow. Either diehard sci-fi film fans or Sean Connery fans or both. Hey, that's my eye. When you spin it that way, it's going to get in my eye. Yeah, silly
And
bird.
we have Falcon Zoo here as well. Hello, Falcon Zoo.
Hello, Falcon Zoo. The Cecil bird.
I'm the only mod here today, so I'm afraid I'm not greeting everyone in the chat, but I say hello to you. Because it's normally Anne Marie who posts it all in the chat, but she's not here today. She's not feeling well.
See, if I could send Cecil over to her, she'd forget all about her current state of mind and be trying to figure out how to keep him from whacking her with a stick.
Well, if you think okay, it might make her headache worse. If he's going to be
Maybe.
hammering.
What? What did you say? Rat, rat. That's a sir. You're not so sure what you said? That's what it sounded like you said. Not so sure? You would think that would give him a headache.
KK.
A good bird? Yes, you are. And the rest of the crowd's taking a nap.
That's pretty standard for these live streams. They're like, oh, the viewers are here. We better take a nap and pretend like we don't do anything.
You were watching that one, Jasmine, do the circle on top of the timeout cage, just around and around she went.
Yeah, they were all going nuts though yesterday.
I'm still thinking I did manage to capture some of it. Fortunately, the phone will, it doesn't do sound at the same time, but it will capture video. So I got where she was going. I got her going in circles, and then I got her going against the wall. And I figure if you have her going back and forth against the wall, you just, as she gets to the end, you go ding with the bell, and she goes the other way, ding. You know, that would be kind of cute.
Yeah. It was all because Manda tried to push her off her rope, which was very surprising. So we like that Manda is feeling confident, but we don't like that he tried to push his auntie Jasmine.
Yeah, she didn't fight back too much. She stood her place, but she didn't run and attack him like she used to. So sea salt. Well, this one got sassy yesterday too. The sugar bird
Mm.
saying
Is it?
hello.
Hi. Hi. It was very cute.
She's been pretty active. Now she's had a toy in there for about a day, and she's looking at me. Replace this, please. So I turned it around the other side, and she looked at me like, "That's not what I want. I want you to bring a new one." And KK has gone through a record amount of wood. I actually am. He's still got some wood in his cage, bro. I'm going to let him try to find the rest of it and destroy it because I could barely get his tray out to change his paper yesterday. Yeah, it took me 10 minutes to clean the bottom of this cage, which is insane. And I still didn't get all the wood that he got around the cage. I just got the wood out. I still had to get Cause out and Romeo out yesterday. So I get over to, I mean, I knew it was full, but he had just wasn't insane, just trying to clean his cage.
What I wonder is if you took KK to Home Depot, would he eat up their entire stock? Probably.
He would probably stay in that aisle and chew on everything, wouldn't you? Hmm? I'm not sure he's ready to go out. I had him outside with another rescuer from town, and she got too close to me, and he went flying towards her. I had to get him off the ground and get him into the aviary.
Oh my, KK.
I
Defending Dad.
don't want anybody near my dad. No,
Mm.
you'll work it out in time, kid. You're such a good bird. That's our good bird.
KK, good bird.
Lucy, is that your new spot? She moved there yesterday. That's not where she usually sits. Lovely Lucy, pretty bird.
Lovely Lucy. That's such a cute name.
She likes it. She'll pay attention to me if I say it. Lovely Lucy, pretty bird.
And it suits her as well because she is lovely.
She is. Sea salt.
So what's our topic for today, Don?
It's on parrot nutrition. Listen to the experts. Let's see. I'm gonna get my notes up here. Notes. Make sure I cover everything. Come on, notes.
Because when you've got such a bunch of rowdy cockatoos, you can tell that they must get their nutrition from somewhere, or else they wouldn't have so much energy.
Yeah, it's true.
Not that they're so rowdy right now.
No, they're not.
And we have Buktiar Shah, who's joined us. Hello, Buktiar.
Hello. Well, there's a lot of talk about parrot nutrition, but the first thing we know is we don't know enough. And there are experts who have worked out what's considered the best nutrition for them. Admittedly, they started with chickens, basically what is fed to chickens. It's not what these guys eat, and then they tried to port it over by what knowledge we have of what we think they eat in the wild. They can look at some birds like the greater sulfurs in Australia and the other cockatoos that are there and the other parrots, and they can see what they eat. So, but they're called omnivores, but they're not known to eat meat. But they'll eat almost everything else. Unfortunately, that's not good because you can give them something that's not good for them, and it can become a regular staple in their diet.
Like sugar and frosted flakes.
Yeah. And the folks were trying to give her what she wanted. That's the problem, is she wanted to eat that stuff, and they didn't see a problem with it. But there's a big problem in feeding these guys anything that's not fresh, such as fruits and vegetables, mostly vegetables, some fruit, and then pellets. That's basically what you want to feed them. And the thing is that there are nutritionists who know what they're doing and have done the best job they can to formulate pellets that parrots can eat, which will provide what we believe is the best nutrition for them. And then you still need to feed them other things, right? Things that have moisture in them because they need moisture in their diet. I don't pretend to be a nutritionist, okay? So I use pellets with these guys. And when I make their birdie biscuits, I grind up pellets and put them in their birdie biscuits. There's pellets that go into their mash and become part of the sauce I put over their mash. Their mash is fresh, some fresh, some frozen vegetables and fruits. But in order to get the nutrition that they need, the pellets are the best way to go. And there's people who will try to come up with their own mix, and they're not professionals. And I would not use those products. Now, there's another reason for that too. One reason I wouldn't use somebody, let's say somebody's got, we'll just pick something. I know someone who has, or used to know, years ago, someone who had a bird store, and they made their own mix of food. And here's the problem: bird store goes out of business, or the bird store decides, well, we're not going to make that anymore. And if you have cockatoos, especially, trying to switch them to something else is going to be incredibly difficult. So you want something that's nationally produced, something like Supreme or Missouri or Harrison's. I tend more towards Supreme and Missouri uh, because they're bigger companies. Although Harrison's pellets are excellent, the problem is it's one company that makes pellets for just for birds. So with the other companies, you're talking about they make a lot of different foods for a lot of different animals. Missouri, for example, they supply a lot of zoos, so they have their food comes in. You can get smaller portions of it, and they make it look different when they do that, but it's still the same pellet. Uh, Most of their food comes in 25 or 50-pound bags for zoos to feed their animals. So, but you can also get them in smaller packages that look a little different. They make the pellets in different shapes and sizes. For the normal zoos, it's just a pellet of one size.
And it's good
But
to have a mixture of pellets so that if one of them goes off the market for a while, then your bird will still eat.
right, I give them Missouri and Supreme. They like the Supreme, and I give them the colored ones. There's ones that don't have any coloring and the ones with coloring. Um, I give them colored ones because it gets them to eat them. The Missouri's all one color, and they do eat them, but they don't eat them as much. They're fond of particular colors, and so they might choose. That's all the same pellet, but they'll choose one color over another. So yeah, they get two different kinds of pellets, and then I give them something to stimulate. There's a few sunflower seeds that are roasted, not salted. Roasted because we want to make sure there's no yeast or fungus or anything like that inside the seeds. So they get one little piece of banana for dried banana, and then they get a piece of papaya. And occasionally they'll get a little something different. I'll throw something like a nutriberry or some safflower seeds in there, but they know they're not going to get that all the time. So they'll be there for a couple of days, and they disappear, and they get used to a little variety in their diet. And there's variety in their mash too. So when I cook their mash, sometimes they'll get green and yellow peppers. Sometimes they'll have red peppers in there. Sometimes I'll put a little bit of cayenne pepper in there to heat it up. These guys like hot, so they get some variation, but they're picky, so you can't vary it too much. You want to make sure they're eating those pellets, or at least something that has the pellets in it. With sugar, first thing she started eating, because she went a long time just wanting to eat junk, and it was hard to get her off of it. First thing she started, she liked the birdie bread, and then she started eating the mash, and then she tried the edamame, and now she eats that. That is excellent for them because edamame has just about everything you need in it to survive. But so you want to stick with we say balanced nutritionally. Well, to the extent that the experts can come up with a balanced nutrition, that's what we have in these pellets. Okay, so whether you're feeding Harrison's or Supreme or Missouri, or you should be feeding two of them anyway, two different pellets. I would avoid other brands. I mean, there are other brands out there. Um, but this is, I'm going to say I would avoid. I would not use anything else. And right now I am giving a little bit of the high maintenance pellets to Cecil because he was having a weight problem, and also to Sugar. But that's just a temporary thing. They don't seem to be eating them though, but they're in there. They are eating the other pellets. And
Basia says that her birds refuse to eat fruits and veggies, and that goes for all the birds, the goffin, the parakeets, the Quaker parrot, and the pigeon. So what do you do with a bird that just refuses to eat?
you keep trying. You find different ways to present it. You can make birdie biscuits and put the pellets in, or pellets. You can put the fruit and vegetables in there. I make a sauce. It's basically a white sauce using soy instead of milk. 2 tablespoons of flour, 2 tablespoons of a palm-based margarine with no milk. Can't have any milk product in it. And then you make a roux paste and turn it into a sauce. Add a cup of soy milk to it. Add whatever flavorings the birds like. I use pumpkin and a little bit of Bragg's amino acids to get the right flavor for it. And then I just use it to cover the vegetables. The fruit I just blend up and put in the sauce. So when they eat the sauce or eat something like the corn that's in there, because a lot of birds like corn. So I mix it into the sauce. So when they're eating something, they're getting that sauce. Where are you going up there, big boy? I was going to show your face and you moved. Yeah. So you just have to find other ways to do it. That's with Sugar, the birdie bread is the first thing that got her. But it was a year and a half before I got her eating good food. And what I mean by eating good food is that she wouldn't touch anything except the trash food. I tried getting like health food versions of Cheerios because she would eat Cheerios. Couldn't do it. So I was having to syringe feed her at least every other day to make sure she was getting decent food. And I was using KT Exact for that. So I took a 60 milliliter syringe, and you have to make it up as it says. And you have to have the water at about 120 degrees, and you have to add it to the right proportions of the KT Exact. And because if it's too much, it can choke them. And if it's too little, they're not getting nutrition. So it's a bit of anybody has a problem with that, you can contact me and I'll kind of walk you through it. Because they do have a mixture on the back of the packages, but you're either going to make way too much because you don't have that many birds you're feeding, or you're going to get it wrong because you have to use algebra to figure out exactly what proportions to give if you want to give smaller amounts. Or ratio and proportion is a bare minimum. If you can't do that, then you need a little help. Because it's by weight. They use the by weight method. But so she was getting syringe fed for a year and a half until she started eating the birdie bread. And then when she got into the edamame and she was eating some of the mash, she also started to like the flavor, and some of the pellets are in there. So she was started to eat the pellets, and now she's eating well. But we're talking before she was actually eating a fairly decent diet, it was almost 2.5 years. So you have to keep trying and try different things because unfortunately they're like kids that were raised on these breeders are trying to save money, so they're making a better profit. Hence my dislike of capitalism, because it turns you into a monster. Well, if we buy this cheap stuff from over here, we can save some money. Yeah, unfortunately, the birds, when they're raised like that, it's like raising your kids on candy bars. And then when you finally start trying to offer them something that's good for them, like, I don't want that. And you can't talk to them to convince them to eat something good either. It doesn't really work. So you have to, the best method is to try different things to get it into them. If you can mix vegetables, if a lot of them will like something like a sweet potato or a potato, which actually has a lot of good stuff in it, you can start mixing in, a 1/4 teaspoon of some mixed vegetables and then a half a teaspoon and slowly add it in until, they'll start eating vegetables. And then you can start coating vegetables with um, a potato sauce, okay, which is basically like the sauce I described earlier, except instead of putting in pumpkin, you put in potato to give it that potato flavor. You just make some mashed potato and mix it in. It's create. You have to be creative because they've been trained to eat junk either by the breeder, who's too cheap to buy decent food because they're trying to make money, or people who don't know how to feed them. So they're frustrated, so they find something they'll eat and they just give it to them. It is frustrating. So just have to keep trying and trying different things.
And there is one method you can try, but you have to test it beforehand. And that's if you eat the bird food in front of the bird and act like it's super tasty and amazing. But make sure you taste it first, because if you eat it and then start spewing, then your bird's never going to eat that. So you'll have blown it.
And these guys are selective eaters. So if they start, if you give them a whole variety of things, and they're not pellets, all right, they're going to eat whatever they like. That's why I only put a few sunflower seeds in. It gets them to the bowl. They eat a few. There's four or five sunflower seeds in there. And these are big birds, so they eat those, and then they look around. What else can I eat? And then they start eating the pellets. Or they'll eat just a little bit of banana and then start eating the pellets. So, but if you give them a whole bunch, if I were to give each of them two big chunks of banana chips, there's a chance they'll eat that and not eat anything else in there if it fills them up. So you can attract them to the bowl by putting in things like a few sunflower seeds or half of a cashew, something like that. But you don't want them to just dine on that. So yeah, selective eaters. So I'll go, well, like you, if I keep the average person, if I laid out a whole bunch of food in front of you that was more than you could eat, you're going to eat whatever you like first, right? Not many people go for that. Well, I'm going to eat the healthy thing, right? He put out all this stuff, but I'm going to eat that green salad. No, that's probably not going to be the way it's going to work. So pellets prevent this selective eating. So that's important. Now, the other thing, I mean, pellets are convenient. And when you're talking to people about doing something, it's usually works that you pick something that's convenient for them, right? So pellets are convenient. You can, they're easy to store, to manage and serve. When you're running low. You can keep them longer if you've got fresh fruits and vegetables. They only last a day or two. So if you can get them to eat pellets, I'm not going to say if you've got a cockatoo, it's going to be easy, but any vet will tell you want to get them on pellets. So
pellets are interrupt. Oh, sorry, Don. I was just going to interrupt. Say real quick that Giselle Plant-Based Vegan is here. So hello, Giselle.
Hello.
And she has a question. So she wants to know, how much fresh food should you put in their bowl? And then how many times a day do you switch it out?
Well, you'll read that you need to put it in there and take it out 2 hours later. If you move Sam Mander, hold on. Hey, you watch it there. I got him trying to hit me on the side of the head. And what are you doing over here? What are you doing? Well, yeah, you're gonna poop, but that's not the point. You shouldn't get anywhere near him. Oh, here we go. I'm gonna have to deal with this. I'll answer. Don't let me forget the question because I gotta watch it. We're almost in a fight situation.
Mander, you
Can't come
I'll
over here.
remind you once the Manda situation is dealt with.
KK. No, it's all right, KK. He's like, no, it isn't. He's not supposed to be there, KK. Yeah, that's what I call the snake dance. When they start going back and forth like that, wiggling with the feathers on the back of the neck up. All right, KK. KK. No, don't. Why would you're going the right way? Go that way. You don't understand the English. You're in the wrong spot. Go on, get. Go, go. No, that way. Oh, sometimes I think he has a death wish. Will you stop this? You're not doing the right thing here. Go.
No common sense.
No, he doesn't. There he goes. All right, KK, it's all right. Calm down. Calm down. KK. KK. Hello. KK. No, 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 you're not doing that. Come here. Come here. Come on. Come here. Come over here. That's a good bird. Don't do it. Don't do it again. Don't. Ah, no. Come here. Cecil. Cecil. Go up there. Would you quit coming over here? I'm going to have to take him out if he keeps it up. I'm actually using Cecil as a method of getting him away from here. KK did better than he usually does. Generally, when he gets over there like that, and KK is right under him, that's it. KK goes for him, and he hasn't done it.
Yeah. Well, that's progress.
Yeah. Okay, I'm crossing my fingers. What was the question again?
So how much fresh food should you put in their bowl, and how many times per day should you switch it out?
Okay, so usually fresh food, if you just cut up a little bit of broccoli and carrots and peppers and that kind of thing, it's going to last a couple hours. You got to throw it out. If you make a sauce and put it over it, it can last 4 or 5 hours, maybe five. Five is about average. The sauce will keep it from turning bad, but that's about it. About 5 hours if you put a sauce on it. If it's plain, about two, and throw it out. Now, how much? That depends on your bird. If your bird happens to hate George Bush and loves broccoli, George Bush hated broccoli, so and you watch your bird and it eats nothing but broccoli, well, then you're going to have to put in just a tiny sprig of broccoli. Otherwise, the bird's going to eat just that. So you have to watch and observe. Too bad you can't weigh it because they throw food out, so you can't do that. But you have to watch and observe what they eat and how much of it. And if the cage is clean, um, you can sometimes, depending on where the food is, you can see what they've dumped out and what they've actually eaten. But you want them to eat mostly pellets, and about a quarter of their diet should be fresh food. So I'm not going to say it's easy. I have to do it with 12 of them. It's not easy, is it? No, it's not easy, is it?
And how do you ensure that they have enough liquid in their diet?
Well, what I do, I mean, they have two things, although only two of them actually learn to use it. They have Lixit bottles that you change every day, and they can get water that way. And the ones that have learned to do it, like to do it that way because they can tilt their head back and just, it's basically glug, 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 and they can drink a whole bunch of water. If it's in a bowl, they have to take the water, and when they get the water in their beak, they lean backwards to get the water down their throat. So I think that might be part of the reason they don't get enough liquid in their diet, is that they don't particularly like having to put some in their beak and raise their head up. And in the wild, I think they probably drink more water coming off the leaves because it rains all the time. and they just drip it into their throat, or they go to a natural water fountain and drink it.
And some of
Um,
them probably bathe in the water bowls as well.
yeah, yeah, yeah. Um, Keeping the water bowl clean helps because they don't like to drink out of a dirty water bowl. And the problem with, especially with cockatoos, is there's so much dust in the air, even if you're running massive amounts of filtration, that the dust sits on top of their water and they won't drink it. So you end up having to change it 3 or 4 times a day. Um, I've found a way to keep that dust down by using the humidifier keeps it down. It wasn't my intent, but it does do that. It keeps the amount of dust in the air down. So, and then the mash is another attempt because it does have a liquid. When you put the mash there, it is all covered in liquid. So a they're getting liquid into their diet by just eating the different things that are in the bowl. So that's where the mash comes in too. It does give them more liquid.
So we have another viewer who's joined us. That's Atomic. So hello, Atomic.
Hello.
And Atomic also has some questions. So she says, I'm changing my Grey's food to pellets because she's growing some red feathers where she shouldn't have them. I read it's bad, but she refuses to eat her new pellets. What can I do? So I replied, the food won't affect the color of her pellets and the color of her feathers, rather. And she responded, I heard that red feathers can be caused by liver damage. So I guess there's kind of two questions there. So would you address either of those, Don?
I have not heard that red feathers can be caused by liver damage. Usually, you can see that in the poop. When you start getting brown coloration in the poop, that indicates liver damage. Red feathers with the only red feathers I know with African grays is if they lose their feathers, if they pick them and then they come back in, they'll sometimes come back in red. I had Murray that exactly happened. She had a section in her chest that she'd been picking for years when I got her. And then when I put her on medicine and she stopped doing that, all the feathers came in red. So there was a second part of that question I don't remember.
Yeah. So the first part, so she said, I'm changing my Grey's food to pellets. So I will. So Atomic, if you can say in the chat what the parrot's eating now, that would be helpful. But presumably, if you're starting to add pellets into the diet, then how would you go about doing that? I think we've kind of talked about it already, but we can have a quick recap.
Well, you might try something that has a variety of colors. And I know people talk about the coloration problem, but um, because if you do that, they have a variety of things to choose from and a variety of shapes. That's why I use Supreme for that. But there are good foods like Missouri that don't have coloration. And again, with an African gray, it's a little easier than with a cockatoo usually, but you just want to mix them in with whatever the food is, and over about a 10-day period, know, you start off with 9/10 of what you used to be feeding them and 1/10 of what the pellets are moving in. The next day you go, 8 by 2, and then you go 7 by 3, and until you eventually end up with just that in the bowl. That works most of the time. Just be sure you're weighing the bird, because if your bird starts to lose weight, it's not eating because it doesn't want what you're providing, then you may have to go to mixing pellets into biscuits and different things like that to get them to eat it. I've gone through everything that way with these guys because they are really they want to eat what they were eating when they came here. So
Yeah. And she just responded that at the moment the parrot mostly eats nuts and fresh fruit and veggies. So that sounds pretty good. So you just want to add in the pellets as well, but keep on feeding the fruits and veg and some nuts, but not too many.
yeah, what you can do is just scale it down. Like I said, you want 1 part to 9 parts because you're basically going to just keep reducing it over a 10-day period. Or if that doesn't it doesn't seem to be working. Try doing it over a 20-day period. So you're giving 1 part to 9 parts for the first 2 days, and then reduce it like that. You can do it slower, but that usually works. If not, then you have to get creative and start making biscuits, birdie biscuits that have pellets in it. You can increase the amount of pellets until the birdie biscuit is about half pellets and half whatever you need to hold it together. So
Yeah, you have to sort of trick them into eating it sometimes.
yeah, yeah, you do. It's like kids that don't like oatmeal cookies, and you throw chocolate chips in there. Although you don't want to do that with your parrot. Chocolate's poison, but it's the idea. You can't get them to eat oatmeal, but you can throw something in there that gets their attention. So
Put
that's
a
where the biscuit.
yeah, you put a tiny bit of puree or jam or something on there just to sweeten
Yeah,
the deal.
most parrots like peanut butter, and peanut butter is not bad for them. Although you need to avoid the organic peanut butters usually. The reason is they don't have enough oil in them, and they can choke the bird. So I learned that the hard way, but fortunately the bird was still alive. But I mean, I had to use a syringe and shoot water down the bird's throat because it was choking. Just not enough oil. Or you can add oil. I mean, you can add peanut oil to organic peanut butter, but peanut butter is good because it's a good balance of fat and protein. So
Yeah, so she says biscuits are a good idea. So hopefully that helps. So good luck with that. If you just keep trying, then you'll get there. It
yeah,
just
that's
takes
the
a bit of
thing.
time.
That's the thing, persistence. And they don't teach us that in the Western world. The West, they teach us to do something, and then whatever the new thing is 2 weeks later, do that. But you just have to keep trying with these guys. And most of them have been on a bad diet a long time. Obviously, this African gray has been on a good diet. And the thing that fruits and vegetables provide too is the moisture. There's a lot of moisture in that. I mean, there's moisture in vegetables and fruit. So that's another way to get moisture into them. And moisture is important because without proper moisture and exercise, you can get prolapses. So don't want a prolapse. That's for sure.
Nope.
Right, Cecil?
Yeah, so we talked about pellets, we talked about fruit and veg, we talked about water, talked about how to introduce new foods. What other aspects are there to nutrition?
Well, there's something people don't think about, mental stimulation. Um, so, if they get in their bowl and there's nothing in there that's exciting to them, then they're just bored. That's why, putting the fruits and vegetables and getting a good balance of getting them to eat their pellets and also the fruits and vegetables. That's why I provide a variety, but I make sure it's all based on the pellets. Even the vegetables are coated in a sauce that contains pellets. So, um, and the other thing of the mental stimulation with 3 or 4 sunflower seeds in the bowl, they're going to, most of them are like, there's actually birds here that don't like sunflower seeds, but um, I don't think Sal would care less. You could come up to him with a handful of sunflower seeds and he'd look at you like you were crazy. Um, he wouldn't be interested in those at all. He'd be going after the pellets first, but get something in there that draws their attention and gets them to eat. So
It's kind of
imagine
like
if you,
people, really, isn't it? If you
yeah,
had to eat the same meal every day for a year, you'd be pretty sick of it too.
yeah. And that's why you should, like, if you're giving them, for example, if they get broccoli in their diet, then cauliflower needs to be in there too. And there's different, cauliflower. Any white vegetable is going to have more potassium. So depending on the color of the vegetable, if you like, one day you can feed green bell peppers, and the next day you can put in red bell pepper, and the next day you can put in yellow bell pepper. And one day you may have zucchini in there, squash, and next day you may have yellow squash. So by varying the fruits and vegetables that they get, the variety is good for them because there's different nutrition in each one, and also mental stimulation too. What have I got in my bowl today? I know I'm not doing my job right when I put the food in there and they just sit there for a while. Like, okay, I'm going to go over it. Well, I need to do something to spark it up.
Mm. And what
And Bob,
about,
go ahead. Sorry.
oh, I was going to say, what about foraging toys where you hide the food inside the toy and they have to go looking for it? What do you think about that?
Well, that's good mental stimulation, and that's a good way to present things like nuts and extras. Nuts are not extras for macaws; they have to have them. But for most parrots, they're something that's just a treat. So, and I mean, there's good stuff in there for them too, but you don't want to overdo it.
It's a lot of calories.
Yeah, a lot of calories, but there's a lot of minerals in a nut that you won't find elsewhere too. So it's good to give them a little bit. And that's the kind of thing it's best to do in foraging. You just put it inside of a piece of paper and wrap it up. I know that the um, oh, I can't remember the name of the thing now. There's two free books that tell you how to make toys. Life of me, I can't think of the name of it, but it'll come back to me, I'm sure. But there's a lot of different things that you can do. I mean, but you got to show them if they like something like a cashew. Well, then you need to show them that you're putting the cashew in the paper, and you put the cashew in there and you crumple it up, and then you put it in their cage or in their food bowl at first, because they get the idea there's food in it, and then you can start hiding them in different places of their cage. They'll see you do it, but you can do it anyway. And that's a good way to get treats into them,
And it
and good
keeps them
treats.
busy.
Yeah, and I keep that mind going because if they're not interested, if they don't feel like eating food, then you got a problem. So leafy greens are good too. And although you've got to watch, keep an eye out for warnings. I know that if you're buying your leafy greens at Costco in the United States or anything at Costco, if there is any kind of warning, that Costco will contact you and let you know that you need to bring it back or throw it out. If you're buying at most grocery stores, they're not going to tell you. They'll take it off their shelf, but they aren't going to tell you that it's bad. Um, so wash them. Usually a little vinegar water, 10 parts of water to 1 part of vinegar, and wash them. Let them sit for about 5 minutes on the water, and then rinse it off and provide it for them. You can use depending on the bird, because if you try to use like one of these big paper clips, right? The kind that I don't know what you call them, but you squeeze the ends and it opens a wide mouth. And some birds you can do that with. Other ones are going to be more interested in that than they are in the greens. So you can stuff them between the bar. Yeah, try that with Bob, and he's got that thing apart. He likes greens, but if you put that up there, he'll take that, and the green will fall one way or the other. So usually you can stuff them between the bars, which is what I do. I just come through with the greens and stuff them through the bars, and then they take them, chew on them, eat them. So you can use spinach, kale for that kind of thing. Fruits, you can give them apples, but make sure you don't give them the seeds. The seeds are poisonous, and the problem with birds is that they don't eat the outside of seeds; they eat the inside, and they can open them and eat those. Don't do that. I learned that. I mean, I knew it, but I had an apple sitting on the table. I turned around. Chloe hopped off the perch, went over, oh, dug through the apple in less than 30 seconds, and swallowed the seeds. And I had to go and get a lavage and get those seeds out of her. So, and be sure that you wash everything, you know, thoroughly.
Yep. Food hygiene is important because these guys have very sensitive little stomachs.
No avocado, but you can use berries, mangoes, papayas, that kind of thing is fruit. They don't seem to like citrus. I've had one bird that liked oranges, but that's it. And that's actually he's still here. That's Bob. If you give him a tangerine or a slice of orange, he'll eat it, but most of them won't. And it's good for them, but you want to try to make it be no more than 30% of a parrot's diet. So, especially with fruits, because they're high in sugar and they can lead to obesity. And the problem with seeds, and the reason number one reason not to feed seeds is that a diet of primarily seeds leads to fatty liver disease, and they generally don't live if they get that. So the things you definitely don't want in their diet: chocolate, caffeine, alcohol, avocado. It's easy to remember the chocolate, caffeine, and avocado and alcohol because that's the word caca. So you don't want to feed them caca. No chocolate, no alcohol, no caffeine, and no avocado. Don't feed your bird caca. Um, if you're eating chips, most birds' chips are crisps, depending on what part of the world you're in. Most birds will look at you like, "Can I have some?" And unless you're eating unsalted, and they do make those, if there's the ones that are not salted on the outside and they didn't put salt inside them, you don't want to give them to your birds. Salt's not good for them, so not good for us either. But well, you have to have it. We need a certain amount, but they don't, because they can get what tiny amount of sodium they need from nuts and their pellets, because there's a small amount in there. Um, it's too bad they can't even eat avocado because there's a bunch of wonderful stuff in there for them. But there's one thing that's a killer, literally. So
No guac.
nope,
No tortilla chips and guac.
none at all. And I can't stress enough. There's people who are making mixes out there and on their own, packaging up stuff and selling it for birds, like bird stores that do that. I recommend you do not buy that. And as I said, you don't know how long they're going to do it, and you don't know what the nutrition is. And so there's companies, small companies that make like, oh, you can make this pasta salad for your bird. You just cook it. No. Um, you want to do something like that? Pasta is not a bad thing for them occasionally. You can make it yourself, but you'll know where you bought your pasta and what's in it. And then you can make your own sauce to go on it, that kind of thing. As a treat here in, or if you're having trouble getting the bird to eat, it you can not so much pasta, but you can make a sauce and then put vegetables and a little bit of fruit and pellets in it. So yeah, avoid these third party people who say, "Oh, this is my I'm I have this." That's what I'm trying to think. I sell birds and I also sell food. Yeah, no, don't do that.
And even people who are good intention, they don't necessarily know all the facts, so should always have a healthy dose of skepticism.
Yeah, remember that what's that line? The road to hell is paved with good intentions.
So if you buy all your food yourself, you know where it came from and you know what you've done with it. So there's a lot to be said for that.
What do you say, Cecil? He says, I like to eat the edamame first and then the birdie biscuit. And then I go after my,
Mm,
then he goes after his mash.
yum yum. So Giselle says that she gives her quinoa and chickpea pasta. That sounds nice.
Quinoa is good. It has everything a human needs. I don't know if it has everything a parrot needs, but it is good. And it would be good to put into a mash. I used to make a mash that had quinoa in it. Um, but what I was where the quinoa was going in, I just eventually replaced it with the pellets. You know, the actual ground up pellets. But
But if you've got it and they like it, then it's a nice thing to have in their diet.
as far as grains go, it's the best. Quinoa would be the best grain. Just like the best legume is a soybean. So
I think Lorelai might take issue with that.
yeah, I know. Lorelei and her pinto beans. They're good for him. She has to have her pinto beans every day. She eats everything else, but she wants those pinto beans. She eats them in between. She usually goes for the mash. Oh, she goes for her treats of sunflower seeds, the 3 or 4 of those. She goes, gets those. Then she eats mash. And after the mash, she goes for the soybeans. She doesn't eat the birdie biscuit. I put it in there every day, but she doesn't eat it.
Fussy.
Someday she may decide she likes it. So, well, thank you, everybody. I'm glad you all came, and hope we can see you on Wednesday. And with any luck, Amy will be well. I want her to get better. And thank you, Eleanor, for moderating this. I'd
And
feed
thank
you
you,
something
Don.
as a, I'd feed you something as a reward if I could, but don't have any chocolate bars I can hand from here to Scotland. So,
No, well, I was going to say you can take me out for an Indian, but it's a long way to go.
oh yeah, just a bit. Cecily, you want to say bye? You might want to, but
Bye
you
bye,
won't.
Cecil.
Bye.
Bye bye, Cecil.
Hope to see you guys